ඔබ සැමට උතුම් දළදා සමිඳුන්ගේ ආශිර්වාද ප්‍රාර්ථනා පෙරදැරිව අප සූදානම් වෙන්නේ ඓතිහාසික කඳුඩරට ඇසල පෙරහැර මහා මංගල්‍යයේ තුන්වන රන්දෝලි පෙරහරේ සිරිවිසිතුර ඔබට සජීව සමීප කිරීම සඳහා. මේ පෙරහැරේ සිරිවිසිතුර සිංහල දෙමළ ඉංග්‍රීසි මාධ්‍යයන් ඔස්සේ පියෝ ටීවී නාලිකාංක 20 ඩයලොග් නාලිකාංක 140 සහ ෆ්‍රීසෙට් නාලිකාංක 2 එසේම ශ්‍රී දළදා මාලිගාවේ සමාජ ජාල මාධ්‍යයන් ඔස්සේ ඔබට අපි සමීප කරනවා. අද දවසේත් මේ පෙරහැර නැරඹීම සඳහා දහස් සංඛ්‍යාත ජනතාවක් සෙන්කඩගල නුවරට පැමිණ සිටිනවා. නිවසේ රැඳී සිටින ඔබට මේ පෙරහැරේ සජීවී දසුන් ගෙනෙන්න අප සූදානම්. මේ ඓතිහාසික කන්ද උඩරට ඇසල පෙරහැර මහා මංගල්‍යයේ තුන්වන ரந்தோலி பெரஹரை. அருணி,
மூன்றாவது நாள் ரந்தோலி பெரஹரா வீதி வலம் வருவதற்காக தயாராக உள்ளது. ஸ்ரீ தலதா மாளிகை ஊடகமூடாக பெரஹராவை காண்பதற்காக உங்கள் அனைவரையும் அன்புடன் அழைக்கின்றோம். சமோதா.
The glorious citadel of Kandy is ready to unfold yet another night of living history and dazzling culture. Continuing a tradition which is over 1700 years old, the third Randoli Procession is ready to take on to the streets of Kandy. We invite you all to join us here in Kandy, and also you can join us through our live stream through Dialogue TV channel number 140, Pure TV channel number 20, Free Set channel number 2, and the official social platforms of the Dalada Maligawa Social Media Bureau.
Dalada Samidu Petai. You're now joining us with the special live broadcast of the third Randoli Procession, brought to you by the Media Bureau of Sri Dalada Maligawa. You're now seeing the Perahera officials obtaining the permission as well as the blessings of the Devadan Nilame, who is the lay custodian of the sacred tooth relic, before commencing their street parading in the third Randoli procession today. What you see now is the handing over of keys by the Devadan Nilame to the officiating bhikkhus. Making his way from the upper to the lower level of the temple of the tooth relic, Devadan Nilame ceremoniously and reverentially takes the relic casket under the protection of the chief incumbent of the Asgiri Mahavihara. And we are about to see the moment in which this casket is placed on the run helige, mounted on the adorned tusker, who will add color and glamour to today's Randoli procession. As the casket is placed within the run helige, marking the beginning of the Kandy Esala Perahera dedicated to Lord Buddha and the sacred tooth relic, we see the Perahera officials offering flowers and garlands to the Perahera casket. And this is the devout moment when the great tusker steps majestically down from the Mahamahal Kada to the Sandagala in preparation to walk the streets of the city. This tusker, who is privileged to carry the sacred casket today, is the chief of the Dalada Maligawa elephant stables, which is Indiraja.
This is the devout moment when Indiraja steps on the Sandagala in preparation to parade the streets of the Kandy city at the third Randoli Procession today.
And this marks the beginning of the fivefold parade today.
Today, the Perahera will be marching in the Dalada streets, Kotugadadala street, Colombo street, Yatinura street, Kumara street, E.L. Senanayaka street and the Cross street.
As we see a beautiful aerial view of the glorious Kandy city, we can see the people lined up in streets to witness the impending procession. Walking up front with the sound of whips piercing through the skies are the whip crackers. The duty of the whip master is to clear the way for the holy Perahera casket.
In single file, they wield their whips to notify the citizens of the impending approach of the Bhupati or the king.
Talking about this instrument, Chamoda, I think it's pretty much obvious that an instrument like this, the whip, has to be carefully manipulated without hurting each other.
Indeed, Sachini, it requires great skill to wave these whips and make this pageantry a safe pageantry and also to create the impact that is expected from the whip masters.
Exactly. The whip master's duty is handed down from generation to generation of their clans, and today this group of whip crackers is led by Upali Jairatna.
Although the whip conjures up fear in most minds, the sight of the Perahera whip master has the opposite effect, calming the populace since they are the ones who clear the way for the living Buddha to walk the streets of the Kandy city.
When it comes to the Esala Procession held in Kandy annually, it has a lot of symbolic connotations analogies that can be related with nature. So the annual Perahera, it is believed that the annual Perahera, which is usually held in the month of Asala, is held to trigger the monsoon. Therefore, Chamoda, the sound produced by these whips is equivalent. It can be considered equivalent to the sound of lightning strikes. Why so? It is used as a way of paying homage to rain gods, requesting to bless our crops and cultivations with rain.
Indeed, Sachini. With that interesting analogy, there is another purpose that these whipmasters serve. That is signaling the people who are lining the streets that the Perahera has started and it has started its street parade.
If you observe carefully, I think you may see how great numbers throw coins into the paths of the whipmasters as an offering to ward off evil from their children and smooth their life path.
Indeed, it is a beautiful tradition that highlights the basis of giving and caring among the people of our land.
Exactly, Chamoda. Therefore, regardless of how rich or poor they are, they offer their coins in great devotion and joy to the Perahera.
Indeed. Now we see another phenomenon of nature depicted in the third Randoli procession today, following which was synonymous to thunder. Now we see another performance which is synonymous to lightning. Isn't it, Sachini?
Exactly. Just as lightning flashes across the skies, the Perahera too has its flashes of light dancing across the faces of the people, lining in the streets to watch the procession. This is the offering of fire to the gods to water our lands with rain. So, as a symbolic reference, the lightning which comes with the rains, which is a phenomenon of nature, is magnificently depicted by these fire dancers.
This team today is trained by E.D. Tilakaratna.
We can see how very young fireball dancers are performing in harmony with their adults.
Indeed, for the children, this is just a fire play, and for the experienced elders, it's a devout, committed fire dance.
These blinding flashes are a cooling heat in the Kandy Esala procession. It is in fact the heritage of the traditions of our torch dancers. And turning off the fireballs, this act of turning the fireballs, is called in Sinhala Pandam Paliya.
We can hear the cheer from the people who are lining the streets. It's been a while since these performers had this cheer from the people lining the street, isn't it?
True, Chamoda, because for almost 2 years, the general public is not allowed to witness the Perahera, live. But this year is special and very specific for them because they got the opportunity to witness it while being in the streets of this great kingdom.
Indeed, Sachini. And also, the true import of these dances are seen when a very large group of them perform simultaneously, merging their various fiery elements into an amazing display of light and heat.
Exactly. As you just saw, the dancers tame fire and give it as a Dalada offering, mindful of its part in cooking, protecting crops and chainas, and dispelling darkness, while creating curiosity, satisfaction, and utter amazement to the people weaving the procession. Look at the beauty of this sight. The dancers are seen creating their paintings of fire across the night sky as they move in procession. For the children, like you said, for the children who are weaving the procession, it can be just a fire play, not just the children who are performing in this, but for the adults who are watching the procession, who are witnessing this. It is a devout moment. It invokes a lot of commitment and honor and a lot of, amazement as well.
Indeed, Sachini. The fire dancers are completely focused and immersed in their art, keeping their minds and bodies one-pointed as they create their cyclic patterns of fire. This is because the slightest inattention could result in disaster.
Looking at these fire dancers, one could also say the fiery cycle of samsara, flooded with desire, ignorance, and anger, is highlighted by the chakras painted by these fire dancers.
We can see very young performers releasing these chakras of fire into the air and catching them in a very timely manner with using their skill and expertise. You are joining us with the live telecast of the third Randoli Perahera of the Esala Perahera Festival 2022.
Now we say the Buddhist flag bearers led by the national flag of Sri Lanka. The sight of the Buddhist flag creates a sense of unreflecting joy on the part of the people weaving the Kandy Esala Procession, reminding them that this is a celebration, devotion, and offering to the Buddha.
This ceremonious procession is one of the adulations for the living Buddha as well as a paramita for the future Buddha. So these Buddhist flag bearers signify that this is a devotion, veneration done in the name of Lord Buddha.
In fact, the Buddhist flag is a symbol of faith and peace. 6 colors of the flag represent the colors of the aura that emanated from the body of Lord Buddha when he attained enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. The horizontal strips represent the races of the world living in harmony, while the vertical strips represent eternal world peace.
When we see the Buddhist flag, one must be wondering what is the history behind this, isn't it, Sachini?
Very true. Talking about the history of the Buddhist flag, it was jointly designed by Mr. G.R. De Silva and Colonel Henry Steele Olcott to mark the revival of Buddhism in Ceylon. It was accepted as the international Buddhist flag in 1952 at the World Buddhist Congress.
The flag bearers create a sense of unlimited compassion of the Buddha through the sacred Dalada tooth relic. The sight calms undisciplined, wayward minds and focuses them on a precision of love and compassion radiating across the universe.
Following the Buddhist flag bearers, we now say the cloth flag bearers. In fact, the people of the Korale divisions and state officials of Kanda Udarata joined the procession back in the day with their Disa Kodi or area flags flying high. So the same tradition is continued as well as displayed in today's procession as well.
Indeed, they display the standards of all the areas that came under the control of the Bhupati or the Senkadagala king. Through this, the people were able to identify if the governance of the Kandian kings and that it is in well accordance with the Raja Dharma. In those times, the display of these flags was also a political symbol.
During the times of the kings, the standards or these cloth flags, the area flags, were carried by the Rate Ralers of each area, showing their loyalty to the king.
Talking about the lineup of these flags, the first is the sun moon standard of the Satra Korale. Next comes the lion flag of the Sat Korale. Then in line is the white flag of Matale and the Sabaragamu silk flag, the flag with the Berhunda Pakshya of the Thun Korale, the peacock standard of Uva Valapane, the lotus standard of the Udapalata, and next in line is the other flags of Vellassa, Dimtanna, Tamankaduwa, Udunuwara, Yatinuwara, Dumbara, Hewahata, Kothmale, Udabulatgamuwa, and Pahalabulatgamuwa.
Similar to the cloth area flags, we now say the brass area flags or the brass standard bearers. These flag bearers as well as the flags also represent the glory of the Senkadagala kingdom. Both gold and brass workers belong to the same clan, or in Sinhala, Gurukulaya, which is the Navandanna clan. They are the ones who make the gold ornaments for the pageant as well as the gold and silver work for the king.
Indeed, those who participate in this procession yearly have always offered their skill and service with great devotion to the people of the land and the glory of the Hela or the Sinhala traditions by participating in the processions.
The detailed engravings on these flags reflect the artistry levels that we had back in the day.
Indeed, it is a very fine art of smelting precious metals into things of beauty, and this has been the exclusivity of the clients back in the days of yore.
It is also mentioned, Shamoda, with the durability of the brass flag. The kings of old offered their hope of similar durability and sustainability to their nation.
Indeed, it says that this procession will be there for eternity till the sun and moon exist.
The sword carriers.
The Dalada Perahera is a Perahera aimed at reducing and eradicating sorrow and sadness. Yet, when the people see sword bearers walking in the street, there is certainly going to be a question as to why someone who is wielding a weapon has been made a part of it. It is because the sacred Dalada tooth relic has been a symbol of kingship in the country from the day it was brought to the nation. Therefore, there were many wars that were fought for its possession. The history of these skirmishes spans thousands of years, from the Anuradhapura period all the way to the Senkadagala period.
And now appears the first elephant with the Perimeneral on his mount. Clad in white robes, the Perimeneral comes into view, ceremoniously carrying the secretarial scroll or the lay committee. The duty of the Perimeneral leading the elephant procession is to inform the citizens of the country that the procession is being carried out in accordance with the directives of the scroll. And today, the Perimeneral rides a majestic elephant, namely Banda, who belongs to Honorable Devadan Nilame Pradeep Nilangadala.
It is a norm of the procession that Perimeneral, or the leader of the procession, is the first person on elephant back, and neither officials nor elephants are permitted to arrive before the Perimeneral. coming into view is the official Hevisi troupe of the Sri Dalada Maligawa.
Until the Hevisi drum beaters permanently seconded to the service of Dalada Maligawa arrive in procession, no Panther vadana or making of sound using either drums or musical instruments is permitted. The Perahera is a yearly occurrence to pay homage to the sacred Dalada Tooth Rally. It is therefore a yearly tradition that the four leaders of Hevisi troupe arrive first in the Dalada procession. For this display, the four great drum clans of Dalada Maligawa, namely Uduvela, Malagamala, Ihalavela and Molagada, contribute with great devotion and pageantry to the celebration. The four leaders of these great clans depict the recognition given to them by the king through the way in which they decorate their Hevisi drums. Playing of other musical instruments before this Hevisi drum is prohibited. That is to ensure that the order of playing these instruments is not compromised. The Gajanayaka Nilame arrives as the royal official in charge of the king's troop of elephants, and it is a position given to him directly by the king himself. And this is the Gajanayaka Nilame of Sri Dalada Maligawa, Mr. Palitha Jayawardena, on the mount of Kotte Raja belonging to Kotte Raja Mahavihara. gifted to Sri Lanka in the year 2009 from Burma by the former Minister Rohita Bogolagama. The Gajanayaka Nilame is seen in the procession on the back of this majestic tusker, grasping the anchors, the emblem of his office.
And this anchors is given to him by the Devadi Nilame himself. Following Gajanayak Nilame, we are seeing a troupe of beetle dancers.
In our country, the shape of beetle was used to invite people for various events and functions, as well as to show our respect to our elders. This is why the beetle leaf dancers are in the first section of the Esala procession as well.
This team, who is led by Nalin Jayasekar, depicts that the people who are lying in the streets and the people who are hearing the voices of these drum beats are being invited to watch this procession. In the times of the kings, it was difficult to invite each and every citizen of the country to be a part of this devotional event and to weave the procession to their heart's content. Therefore, these beetle dancers symbolically invite all the people of the land to obtain merit by watching the procession.
Carrying a Buddhist flag on his mount, we now see Pulatisi Raja coming into our sight. Pulatisi Raja is the latest addition and the youngest member of the Sri Dalada Maligawa elephant stables, gifted by the government of Myanmar in 2017.
It is a norm that the third elephant in the procession carries a Buddhist flag on his mount, symbolizing that this is a devotional ceremony done in the name of Lord Buddha.
The presence of majestic elephants, usually signaled by the distinct strains of the Gajaga Vannama, can be seen throughout the procession.
Indeed, the inclusion of elephants and tuskers in this procession is very unique. That is why we can see the tunes of the Gajaga Vannama being played throughout the procession. Next, we see a team of fan dancers. It is a tradition to fan the sacred tooth relic, and this tradition continues when it is in procession during the Perahera.
This group of fan dancers has been trained by Nimesh Sumanaratna of Chandrananda Buddhist College.
The simultaneous rise and fall of the fans is a gentle and joyful sight to the people who are lined down the streets. It also symbolizes the rise and fall of the circumstances of life.
To the sacred relic, these fan dancers or chamara dancers use a fan made of fine threads and cords and engage in a controlled dance, symbolizing their worship.
these dances again brings the pride of our heritage to our hearts. We have been able to continue this tradition for more than 1700 years. That alone tells us of the depth and gravity of the tradition and heritage we have.
A young tusker joining this night-long celebration, the third Randoli Procession. This tusker is none other than the tusker Mian Kumara, who belongs to Belangvira Rajamaha Vihare.
And on Mian Kumara's mount, we see an umbrella-shaped brass standard, which signifies the protection given to the impending Dalada tooth rally.
The Likeli, or wooden stick dance, is an instantly recognizable cultural icon of the Kandian kingdom. It depicts the traditional martial art of Angampara. Today, this group of wooden stick dancers is led by Upali Dharmavardhana. It can be seen that the wooden stick dancers move in a very rhythmical as well as controlled manner throughout the parade.
Indeed, we can hear very much of an upbeat music in this dance because it signifies the fighting pattern of the traditional martial arts of Sri Lanka.
Exactly, Chamoda. These martial artists who displayed their skills in the country yards of the Dalada Maligawa in the days of yore have added their art to the Perahera in the form of this Likeli dance. And now we see a tusker duo, in fact an elephant duo, namely Veera and Salia, carrying Burmese flags. Veera belongs to Sankapitti Vihare of Kaduwela, and Salia belongs to Mahiyangana Rajamaha Vihare.
These Burmese flags symbolizes the friendship between Sri Lanka and Burma in protecting the Dalada tooth relic throughout all these years.
Now we see the tambourine players.
This team is led by Aryapala Vijayaman. When we are talking about the tambourines, there are two types of tambourines. One is the handheld tambourine and the other is the bench tambourine. What is used here in this dance is the handheld tambourine, and we can see these dancers have been very creative by rotating their tambourines on a stick and making it into a performance of a.
These performers spin the tambourines with so much skill. creating colorful and beautiful rainbow patterns to honor the sacred tooth relic as well as Lord Buddha, all the while chanting praises. And the tambourine is also commonly spun with the use of the dancer's hands, a long thin pole which you can see now, or with the use of one's teeth to hold short sticks at the end of which the tambourines revolve.
The clans of the handheld tambourine are exclusively Kandian. The skill of playing, spinning, and using the tambourine as an instrument to accompany the invoking of the qualities of Buddha are handed down from father to son through generations.
You know, Chamoda, almost everything in this procession has a symbolic meaning. So, the spinning rabana can also be taken as a symbol for impermanence, because one may say that it reminds us that we may lose our life in an instant, in the same way that the rabana breaks free from the rod or the stick on which it is spinning.
Indeed, Sasini, I think there's no other better time for us to remind of this uncertainty of life.
We can see the young participants or performers in this segment of Dalada procession taking their pride as well as their heritage forward.
This tambourine, Madhurabana, is very closely knit with the other cultural festivals of Sri Lanka.
Neither the mind nor the body moves as fast as the spinning rabana, and a great skill is required to manipulate this instrument well. You can see how even these young performers have mastered that skill.
Indeed, Sachini, since they take great pride in taking part in this procession, they keep practicing throughout the year to take part in this cultural grandeur. interesting fact about the procession is that the order of the procession has not changed throughout the ages. It has been the exact order which has been followed in the Dalada procession from the days when it was incorporated.
The Kandy Esala Procession is an elaborate religious parade, and it has been making its way through Kandy's ancient streets in this year for several days, and today we have the third Randoli Procession, and this 10-day long procession is slowly reaching its end, the final day. And as you all know, the final day, the final few days reflect the glory further.
Indeed, the Perahera is becoming better day by day. So we invite you all to witness this pageantry. We have 2 more days remaining if you are wishing to come and witness this dazzling culture.
When it comes to this instrument, Shamoda, I think Raban games or Raban Krida is also something that we can talk about.
Indeed, Sashini. Just like I mentioned before, this Rabana is very closely knit with other traditional festivals of Sri Lanka,
Especially cultural festivals as well.
Exactly, especially the New Year.
Yes.
And this form of religious offering, this form where the tambourine is used in a religious offering, is unique to the Dalada procession.
Exactly. And we can say the Rabana or the tambourine is used not only in the worship of the Dalada, the sacred tooth relic, but also to worship the goddess Patni.
Indeed.
And now we see another majestic elephant, namely Madhu from Muthiangana Rajamaharihare in Badula. Madhu has been participating in the Dalada procession since childhood.
And on Madhu's mount, we see a snake head shaped canopy which symbolizes the protection given to the impending sacred Dalada tooth relic. The heritage city of Kandy is all alight as we host the third Randoli Procession in the Esala Perahera Festival 2022. With the Dalada Perahera. The players display their skills in this traditional heritage instrument of the Kandy. Also, the thumb is used in the daily, weekly and annual rituals of the Dalada Maligawa.
Clans from Hewavissa, Yakawela, Arawawala, Udunuvara and Ridigama are traditionally assigned to this task of creating this drumming phenomena at the Esala Procession. We now see a trio of she-taskers, and these are the she-tasker Suddhi from Habarana, and the two she-taskers, the other two she-taskers are both Deumini, and one Deumini is from Sambodhi Viharaya in Colombo, and the other Deumini is from Horana.
Each of the elephants of this trio are carrying brass umbrellas on their mounts, signifying again that the Dalada tooth relic is very well protected.
This is a beautiful bird's eye view of the entire Kandy city.
It shows how the streets are ready to welcome the third Randoli Procession today.
Yes, I think the tune of the drums has echoed through the hills of Sri Lanka as well as this capital for centuries. So today also, the city is all set, like you said, Shamoda, to welcome the third Randoli Procession on its streets.
Indeed, Sachini, an interesting fact about the Kandy city and its architecture is that on each building which is lining the streets where the Perahera route is there, they all have verandas where people can unlook the Perahera from.
And now we see a group of mixed folk dancers.
This team is led by PCB Vijay Surya. Folk dances consists of castanet players, wooden stick dancers and fan dancers, accompanied by the drummers and again castanet players who provide the rhythm for them to continue this dance.
Even though this procession has great religious significance, the prominence which it has given to our culture and cultural elements cannot be forgotten. So that is why dances like this have been incorporated into the Dalada procession.
Indeed.
The vibrant moves and the unique tune which is produced in this dancing segment are truly adding glamour and color to the Dalada procession. And now we see another duo of she-tuskers, namely Kanchana and Rani. Kanchana is a she-tusker from Giriyulla and Rani is from Kandy Devale in Velambada.
Carrying brilliant red and saffron, Kanchana and Rani are taking very careful strides not to compromise the order in the procession.
Kanchana is currently under the responsibility of Mr. Mahinda Galapathe Giriyolla, and Rani belongs to Mr. S.M. Samaranayaka of Velambada Kandy Devale in Gampala. And one of the first elephants, Rani is one of the first elephants to be invited for the Kandy Esala Perahera.
Following the duo of majestic tuskers, now we see the first Nayandi dancing troupe. And this troupe is led by Vasanta Rajangana and Vasanta Gunatilaka.
Nayandi was a traditional dance by experienced artists dressed in Nayandi dancing ornaments without the head covering of the dancing ornaments. In fact, it was a dance held in the Devales. In this dance, Yataberaya was played and verses used for upcountry or Udarata dancing were sung. So, in this performance too, you can hear and witness the same.
According to traditions, before the dancers master the art of West dance, they need to master the art of Nayandi dancers or the other West dance.
And this she-tusker is Ganga, in fact a young she-tusker who belongs to Ganga Rama Vihara in Hunupitiya.
Following Ganga, we see a troop of wood tappers coming into sight. And today, this team is led by Nalin Jayasekar.
The splinter dance or the Paturu dance, the wood tappers like Chamoda said, is also a very unique dancing form. The movements of hands and feet are done in a certain pattern to attract the viewers. And also this performance, the way The hands and feet are moving. It emanates a sound of clapping for the weavers of the procession.
These woodpeckers have decorated their splinters with a slash of cloth to add extra glamour to the pageant.
Up next, joining the procession, we have another Rani and also Kuveni. So this Rani is from Pallebadda, belonging to Mr. Chanaka Jayasekara of Pallebadda, and she is a senior participant of the Kandy Esala Procession, known for her distinct behavior and looks. Talking about Kuveni, she belongs to Mr. Mahinda Millangoda, who hails from the Millangoda family in Molagoda, Kegal, who were the owners of Millangoda Raja, who had the longest tusks in Asia. And Kuveni is also a senior participant of the Kandy Esala Perahera.
On the mount of Rani and Kuveni, we see another duo of Burmese flags. We saw that 4 tuskers carried Burmese flags because that relationship between Sri Lanka and Burma was that important to protect this Dalada tooth relic.
And now we have the Udaki Dancers.
This team is led by MB Tennakon.
The Udaki is a hand drum, and it holds a special place in the Dalada celebrations because it is played in the daily rituals of the sacred tooth relic.
Indeed, this Udaki is also used in the Kavikaramadua or the Chamber of Persephires.
The specialty of these performers is that they play the instrument and join the procession while chanting songs that are dedicated to the great qualities and characteristics of Lord Buddha.
interesting to see this very small handheld drum, which is hourglass shaped, is used to create a beautiful dancing performance to be a part of this promenade.
Exactly. This small drum-like instrument contributes to the variety of drum beats that are filling the air. And this is yet another she-tusker. She is namely Mali. Mali is following the Udaki players, clad in gleaming blue. And she also has an official on her mount who is symbolizing the protection provided to the sacred Perahera casket.
Following Mali, we see a team of sport warriors dancing across the streets of the Kandy city. And this team comes from the Upcountry Dancing Academy. Although this seems to be a violation of the general tone of the Perahera, it should be remembered that if the swords of our ancient warriors did not swish and slash, the sacred Dalada tooth relic could well have been long lost. And it is in respect for the service that they have rendered in the past that the sword and shield dancers are permitted their lively dance form, where they remind the people of their long tradition of protecting the most precious of our relics of our Lord Buddha.
Like you mentioned, Shamoda, if one may wonder why the sword dancers are present in the Dalada procession, in a religious procession like this is the answer. The rationale of their presence is that although the sword and shield are weapons of violence, the relic of the one who taught the world ahimsa or non-violence needed to be protected from violence being perpetrated against it. And these two elephants are Raja from Hettimulla and Punchibanda from Velagedara. Punchibanda belongs to Mr. Kitsirimewan Velagedara of Panliya, and Hettimulla Raja belongs to Mrs. Sita Senanayaka Mallava of Hettimulla in Kegor. Both are very gentle elephants who have very gentle habits of behavior, and both of them have been continuous participants of the Kandy Esala Perahera since the year 2005 with the election of the current Diyavadana Nilame.
From the day of its inception, the Dalada Perahera has been evolving, and right now the Dalada Perahera consists of 5 Kumbal Peraheras and 5 Randoli Perahera. And today we are at the 3rd Randoli Perahera. This Randoli Perahera is very special because in the ancient times it is believed that this is the moment when the general public got the chance to witness the chief consort of the king of the days of yore.
And the Panther dancers.
The Panther or tambourine without a skin brings the purity of the Dalada procession into the minds of the people as they step across the promenade. This team is led by Sarath Vijay Siri of the Upcountry Dancing Academy.
These dancers are carrying pantheru, their instrument, in one hand while using the other hand for the dancing movements.
This instrument, which is called as the Panther, is crucial to the Kadkara Maduwa or the chamber of versifiers.
We are now about to see an experienced tusker and a young tusker who has a similar importance. These are the Sindhu tusker and Singharaja. Talking about Singharaja, he belongs to Sri Dalada Maligawa and he was gifted from the Sri Lanka Army in 1995 by former Lieutenant Vijay Krishna Bandar. And Sindhu belongs to the Mahanayaka Thera of the Malatta chapter, and Sindhu is the only single-tusked elephant taking part in the Dalada Perahera segment. He was gifted in the year 2009 by the former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. And it is to be noted that Singharaja is one of the tuskers who has been privileged to carry the sacred casket as well.
On their mounts we see brass umbrellas, which again symbolizes the protection given to the sacred relics which are being carried in the procession today.
And slowly, step by step, they are about to see the most awaited moment in today's procession.
Indeed, this troupe of West dancers gives us a hint that that pinnacle moment is approaching.
And this is the first troupe of West dancers led by Ishanta Ihalavela and Lasantha Vansekara.
The most unique and the most recognized of the Kandian dance heritage is the fully adorned West Natua, or mostly known as the Kandian dancer. The Kandian dancer's skill and the dance form has been brought to the national and international consciousness by this Dalada Perimeneral.
We now see the ceremonial tusker lavishly adorned in golden costumes, walking majestically, carrying the sacred Perahera casket, accompanied by the tusker grove. Today, this great task is being taken by the tusker Indiraja, the leader of the Sri Dalada Maligawa stables, and Indiraja is accompanied by Burumaraja and Miyandraja.
We are seeing the Karyakarvana Korala marching in front of the sacred tooth relic. Let us all put our hands together in devotion and worship and experience this devout moment. we see the chamber of versifiers following the sacred tooth relic, singing the praises of the noble qualities of Lord Buddha. We see the sun and moon standards, signifying that this procession will last till eternity, till the sun and moon lasts.
Together with the chamber of versifiers, following them, we have the flower lantern grove.
Offering flowers and lanterns is a very critical and a very significant component of the offerings to Lord Buddha in Sri Lanka. So this troop represents that. And this troop is led by Samantha Perera today.
Certain group of West dancers in Dalada segment, and this group is led by Sanjeeva Velapitiya and Peter Surasen.
It is an interesting fact to note that this troop, led by Sanjeeva Velapitiya and Peter Surasen, has been dancing in the exact same position for many consecutive Dalada processions by now.
The attire of these West dancers is able to transform them into children of the sun. And the sight of the fully adorned West dancer is indeed an eye-pleasing sight.
believed in the days of the ancient kings, these dancers obtained a royal boon after they have donned their vestatua and they have danced in front of the king.
Now we see the Dalada Nilame, the lay custodian of the tooth relic, arriving at the third Randoli Procession. The final responsibility for the whole of this mighty procession rests upon the Honorable Dalada Nilame. And we see now the current Dalada Nilame of Sri Dalada Maligawa, Honorable Pradeep Nilanga Dala.
Here one has the uplifting sight that reminds us of the ancient Kandian glory, with Dalada Nilame walking in state, adulated by the massive troop of Kandian dancers in their full regalia and followed by the Vidanes of the 10 villages.
The Vidanes of the 10 villages under the Senkadigala king accompany the Dalada Nilame as they collectively pay their respect and homage to the Dalada Vahanse. And that marks the end of the Dalada Perahera segment, and it leads to the commencement of the procession of Sri Mahanatha Devale.
Now we see how the rituals are being performed inside the Sri Mahanatha Devalaya before the godly ornaments are being carried out from the Natha Devalaya to be placed on the tusker.
The first of the 4 Devala Peraheras is that of the Natha Devalaya. It is accepted that God Natha is the coming Buddha, and the Perahera of the Natha Devalaya is dedicated to God Natha, who is believed to be aspiring to attain Buddhahood and who is currently in the state of Bodhisattva. So, marking the beginning of the procession of Natha Devale, we have a group of Buddhist flag bearers. Once again, these Buddhist flag bearers remind us that this procession is of national as well as religious significance.
Indeed, Godnatha is believed to be the future Buddha, and he is believed to be next in line to attain the Buddhahood. So we can see a large number of Sri Lankans who are Buddhists venerate Godnatha with very much veneration and honor.
We can say that the Natha Esala Perahera is also formed in line with traditional Buddhist worship forms that are more stately and circumspect in their import.
There is another belief that these Esala Peraheras are lined in order of those deities or gods attaining the Buddhahood. So the first up in the line is the Srinatha Esala Perahera, signifying that Godnatha will be the reincarnation of Lord Buddha as Lord Buddha Maitri. Of Buddhist flag bearers represent the civil defense force of Pallekele.
The head is a troop of the Natha Esala Procession, announcing us about the impending approach of the Natha Esala Procession.
This team, led by S.Y.G. Vijay Sen, consists of performers from a wide variety of ages, from very young to the very old.
During the time of the Kandy Esala Procession every year, Chamada, this very same tune resounds from the hills as well.
Indeed. And also, those tunes which are played in this Esala Perahera is a bit different to the tune which are played in the Dalada Perahera and the Peraheras of the other Devalas.
However, most of these tunes emit an unmistakably elephantine vibe.
Indeed.
And this is the first elephant that we see in the Dalada procession. This elephant is named Rohana, and Rohana belongs to Mr. Varuna Kannangara.
On Rohana's mount is the flag of Senkanagara, which again signifies the flag of God Natha. Following Rohana, we see a team of very vibrant castanet players, led by Nimal Jayasinghe of the Dilana Tharu Arts Academy.
And this is the elephant Bibila, who belongs to Mr. Udara Galapatti. And on the mount of Bibila, we have the Gajanayaka Nilame of Sri Mahanatha Devale.
Following the Gajanayaka Nilame, we are seeing a troupe of Savaran dancers coming into sight. These Savaran dancers signifies the cooling breezes sent to the godly ornaments of God Natha in days of yore. This team is led by Dilshan Shalika of the Arya Arts Academy of Kandy.
When it comes to the Dalada processions, some of the beats as well as the chants, the movements of these dancers can be a bit different, can take a different form than what we see in the Dalada Perahera segment.
Indeed, Sachini, it becomes more varied and it becomes more vibrant, and every dance form is very unique to each Devale.
And this is the elephant Kandula, who belongs to Mr. Roshan of Maharagam. And on Kandula's mount, we see a Buddhist flag bearer.
in the midst of the road to do a beautiful performance to attract more cheer and kudos from the people who are lining the streets.
And this elephant is the elephant Bandara, who belongs to Mr. Kamal Kitsari of Kottawa.
It is interesting to see, regardless of the development of modern technology, still the ancient tradition of carrying copra lamps on either sides of the Perahera to light the way to the Perahera is being still continued.
Whom we see now are the Panther dancers in the Nathadevala Perahera segment. And these Panther dancers have been trained by Asanka Karunaratna,
And they are coming from the Lakshmi Arts Academy of Gelioil. It is interesting to see that the most authentic form of the Pantheru dance in the most authentic costume can be seen only in Dalada Procession.
and they have very unique and significant chants as well, which we can hear if we listen to them carefully while watching their performance.
Indeed, Sachini, it is said that the chants these Pantheru dancers sing are very similar to the chants sung by the Chamber of Versifiers.
This she-tusker who joins the procession is Rani, who belongs to Mr. Nalaka Jayasinghe of Godagama. And if you observe the Nathadevala procession carefully, Chamoda, we all see that the color that we can see mainly throughout this Perahera segment is yellow, which is believed to be the color associated with God Natha. So even the elephants, the tuskers, dancing performers, everyone is clad in extreme yellow, symbolizing the color of the God.
Indeed, Sachini. And also we know that together with the color yellow, the symbol of the swan symbolizes God Natha. With this troupe of dancers led by Anjana Gamage from the Sanka Ranga Arts Academy, Kandy, we see a different form of tambourine dance to which we saw in the Dalada Perahera.
This she-tusker is Panchali, who belongs to Mr. Kamal Kitsiri of Kottaval.
The glorious citadel of Kandy is all alight with glimmering lights while we host the third Randoli Procession.
And to remind you once again, we are currently witnessing the procession of Sri Mahanatha Devale in Kandy, and we are awaiting the most awaited or the most prominent moment in the Natha Esala Perahera segment. So we have the first group of West dancers leading towards the most awaited moment. Chamoda?
Indeed, this West dancers gives us a hint that the godly ornaments are approaching. And this team today is led by Vishuddhi Srinath Verapitiya from the Vishuddhi Arts Academy. What we just saw was a special performance which is named as Naru Matra, which is being danced by holding either sides of their loincloths.
It was in front of God Natha that the kings held their coronation, wore swords and named the king by drawing the lots. So we have the chief trustee of the Natha Devale walking in front and the main Tusker group of the Natha Devale. Today the ceremonial Tusker for Natha Devale procession is Vijita Raja of Dimbulagala Raja Mahavihara, accompanied by the she-tusker Kumari of Mr. Kamal Kitsiri and the she-tusker Parami of Mr. Samant Vijayamana. Up next, we have the second troupe of West dancers in the Natha Esala Perahera segment. So, in a particular Perahera segment, Chamoda, we have two groups of West dancers.
Indeed, the first troupe of West dancers hints us about the impending approach of the godly ornaments of the god or the sacred tooth relic, in fact in the Dalada Perahera. And the second troupe of West dancers signals us of the impending approach of the Devarun Nilame in the Dalada Perahera and the impending approach of the Basnayaka Nilame or the representative of Basnayaka Nilame in the Devala Perahera.
So this troupe has been trained by Nisanka Karunaratna of Gelioya Lakshmi Arts Academy.
This Dalada procession is indeed a huge gathering of a lot of West dancers.
In today's Natha Devali procession, we do not have the Basnayak Nilame of the Natha Devali taking his place, but in his stead, we have the Basnayak Nilame of Vegiriya Srinatha Devali, one of the Pitisara Devalis, representing the Basnayak Nilame of Sri Mahanatha Devali in Kandy.
We can see the same respect given to the Basnayak Nilame is given to this representation, with the umbrella held up high over his head and the two lines of guards lining on the either side of the street.
What we just saw was the end of the Natha Devali procession, and that leads to the beginning of the Vishnu Devali procession. Now we see the godly ornaments of God Vishnu being taken out from the Sri Maha Vishnu Devali premises in Kandy, and these ornaments will be placed within the Randoli mounted on the ceremonial tusker of Vishnu Devali procession.
We can say that the Esala moon is blooming in the onset, regardless of this regalia going on the earth, reminding us that the final Randoli is approaching.
The second Devala Perahera of the Dalada procession is the Vishnu Devala Perahera, and this Perahera is dedicated to God Vishnu, who is thought to be the God overseeing the well-being of the island of Lanka. One can see that those who take part in this Perahera, in this particular segment, are mostly clad in blue because this is the color associated with God Vishnu. So these flag bearers, the provincial flag bearers whom we see in the Vishnu Devala procession, are also clad in this strip of blue, symbolizing the color of God Vishnu, and once again reminding people that this is the beginning of the Vishnu Devala procession.
Indeed, why this color blue is associated with God Vishnu is because God Vishnu is believed to be a god who is blue in complexion. So we can see that blue is associated with this Perahera, and also God Vishnu is believed to have a mythical bird called Gurula as his mount. So we can see in the flags this bird is being represented in the procession.
And this is the first elephant that we see in the Vishnu Devala procession. This elephant is namely Taraka from Rankadu Pattani Devali in Kaduvali. In fact, this is the first elephant who announces the beginning of the elephant parade in the Nata Devala procession.
Just as Taraka announces the beginning of the Nata Devala, we can see the official heavy troop of the Sri Mahanatha Devala marching up front, announcing the people lining the streets that the Nata Devala procession is approaching.
Of these drum beats tell us the approach of the Vishnu Devala procession.
Indeed, this procession is dedicated to God Vishnu, who is thought to be the god overseeing the well-being of the island of Sri Lanka and who is the protector of Buddhism.
We have the elephant Suranimala carrying the Gajanayaka Nilame of Vishnu Devala on his mount. Talking about Suranimala, it is to be noted that he is one of the main elephants in the Vishnu Devala procession because he has been privileged to carry the godly ornaments on his mount as well. But today he is carrying the Gajanayaka Nilame on his mount.
Now we see a troupe of Panther dancers. We have seen the Panther dance throughout the procession, but this representation of the Panther dance in the Vishnu Devala is more significant because it is believed that this Panther signifies the Chakra Yuga of God Vishnu.
These two elephants are the elephant Surani and the elephant Muthu. Surani belongs to Mr. Deepthi Kumar of Diyagama and Muthu belongs to Mutyangana Rajamahariha.
Following Surani and Muthu, we see a team of Savarang dancers. These dancers signify the tradition of fanning the Dalada tooth relic and the gold ornaments of the gods.
God Vishnu was supposed to appear in 10 different apparitions or avatars, and he is also aspiring to become a Buddha in time to come. His major duties were to bless every living being and protect the Buddha Sasana. So we have these fan dancers or the Savaran dancers fanning and honoring such a god. And we have a tusker and an elephant. The tusker Rohana Raja, who belongs to Mr. L.K. Vanyarachi of Kotte, and the elephant named Vastu, who belongs to Mr. Pradeep Miyana Palaval of Navalalli.
Following these majestic giants, we see another troupe of Udaki Dancers. And these Udaki Dancers have decorated their Udakiya with a slash of blue to signify the color of God Vishnu.
These two elephants, in fact one is an elephant and the other is also an elephant, Surani and Banda. Banda belongs to Mr. Sisira Samarakon and Surani belongs to Mr. Deepthi Kumara. We see a troupe of wooden stick dancers coming into sight. These wooden stick dancers adds a bit of an upbeat rhythm to the Dalada procession. And that is because they signify the traditional martial art of Sri Lanka, which is known as Angam Pora. The wooden stick dance, which is also featured famously in South Indian culture, shows a certain level of similarity to the stick dance of our country as well. The steps taken and certain movements that reflect similarity. We have 3 elephants now, and they are special to us. The elephant Pillumale, the elephant Gagana, and the elephant Gamulu Kandula. All 3 from the Pindavala Elephant Orphanage. And on their mounts we see snake-head canopies and brass standards, shaped umbrellas, which signifies that the godly ornaments of God Vishnu are very much protected while they parade the streets of the Kandy city. Representing the Saman Arts Academy, now we see a troupe of West dancers, and they give us a hint that the godly ornaments of God Vishnu are approaching. Chief Trustee of the Sri Mahavishnu Devalaya coming into sight in front of the godly ornaments of God Vishnu. He is the official in charge of overseeing the tasks of the Vishnu Mahadevalaya. The ceremonial tusker, who is adorned in green and blue and who is carrying the godly ornaments today, third Randoli Procession, is Rama or Ekadanta, who belongs to late Mr. Tudor Gunasekara, and Rama is accompanied by 2 she-tuskers, the she-tusker Alapatha, who belongs to Mrs. Krishanti Alapatha, and the she-tusker Sita, who belongs to Mrs. Nilanthi Veerasinghe. The second troop of West dancers. When it comes to the Vishnu Devale, it plays a vital role as the custodian and the main distributor of cup to the other three Devalayas, and it is the place where Valiyak Natumu is held to end the Asala procession. Therefore, the Basnayaka Nilame of the Vishnu Devalaya as well as the Basnayaka Nilames of the Pittisara Vishnu Devalayas have to perform greater tasks in order to contribute to this grand pageantry. So this West troop is supposed to welcome the Basnayaka Nilame of Vishnu Devalaya in Kandy. But in today's Perahera, representing the Basnayaka Nilame, we will have Basnayaka Nilames of the Pittisara Devalayas of Vishnu Devalaya, representing the actual Basnayaka Nilame.
Indeed, it is in the first and the last Randoli Procession that the Basnayaka Nilame himself takes the streets of Kandy. We can see two Basnayaka Nilames of the rural Devalayas or the Pittisara Devalayas taking the streets at the third Randoli Procession today under the pearl umbrellas lined by two lines of guards on either side.
The Nilames of the Pittisara Devalayas or the rural Devalayas have walked instead of the Basnayaka Nilame of Vishnu Devalaya, and that marks the end of the Vishnu Devalaya procession. And what you're witnessing is the third Randoli procession live from the streets of Kandy, brought to you by the Media Bureau of Sri Dalada Maligawa.
This is in fact the aerial view of the pinnacle of worship of all Sri Lankans. This is the Sri Dalada Maligawa premises.
We have already witnessed the processions of two Devales right after the procession of Sri Dalada Maligawa, the one of the Natha Devale and that of the Vishnu Devale, and now we are awaiting the procession of the next Devale to come.
We are seeing the commencement of the Sri Mahakataragama Esala Perahera. We see how the officials carry the godly ornaments of God Kataragama out of the Devalaya premises to be placed on the tusker tasked with the holy task of carrying these godly ornaments across the streets of Kandy city.
We have the Buddhist flag bearers, once again reminding us of the fact that this is a procession, a celebration of national as well as religious importance. Talking about the Kataragama Esala procession, the third Esala Perahera in the entire procession is that of the Kataragama Esala. The Kataragama Esala in Kandy had been built in the 14th century and it became more popular in the 16th century. It is dedicated to God Skanda Kumara or God Kataragama, as we all know of him. It is believed that he has 6 faces and 12 hands, and if you observe carefully, the color worn by most of the participants in this Perahera segment is red, since this is the color associated with God Kataragama. Chamoda?
Indeed, God Kataragama is believed to be a god who is very much in favor of war. It is interesting to see in the architecture of Kandy also, the Kataragama Esala is placed outside the Sri Dalada Maligawa square. That is due to the mere fact that God Kataragama is in favor of war, and the Sri Dalada Maligawa is a place which kindles compassion, love and peace.
It is believed that God Kataragama ascends on the back of a peacock. So the vehicle of God Kataragama is believed to be the peacock. So the symbol of the peacock can be seen throughout in this Perahera segment. What you see on these flags are also mostly the symbol of the peacock.
Following those cloth flag bearers, coming into sight is the official Tedesi troop of the Sri Kataragama Esala.
Sri Tasker in the Kataragama Devala procession, having the Gajanaka Nilame of the Kataragama Devale on her mount. This Sri Tasker is namely Manike, who belongs to Mr. Anurakimpatiya. And we see the Gajanaka Nilame carrying the anchors on the mount of Manike. Up next, we have the group of Udaki Dancers in the Kataragama Devala Perahera segment.
And this team is led by Dhammika Tennakon from the Dhammika Tennakon Arts Academy of Napana. If someone listens carefully, they can hear the songs sung by these dancers, isn't it?
Exactly, they have very unique charms. And even though the performance seems relatively simple, they are also performing, they are in a way multitasking. They are performing two tasks at the same time, chanting hymns in praise of Lord Buddha and also performing with their hand movements.
Indeed.
And this is the second elephant, namely Chula, who belongs to Palmadulla Rajamahavihara. So if you look at the attires of these elephants as well as the performers in this Perahera segment, Chamoda, you can see the color red governing the entire Perahera, because that is believed to be the color associated with the warrior god Kataragama.
Indeed, Sachini. We can see that the elephants and tuskers and also the dancers are draped in brilliant red, signifying the color of god Kataragama. We see another elephant coming into sight.
And this elephant is the elephant Raju, who belongs to Mr. Chamila Bandaranayak. And now we have a group of Buddhist dancers, and the attire of this young group of Buddhist dancers is quite symbolic, and it's quite different from the attires which we observed and which we saw in the previous Buddhist dancing groups. These young dancers have been trained by Upali Dharmaratna, And symbolizing the warlike nature of god Kataragama, these dancers are also performing with pretty much vibrant notes.
Indeed, I think the Kataragama Devaya procession is somewhere where we can see the violation of those religious beliefs quite frequent.
And now we see an important segment in the Kataragama Devala procession. In fact, the vehicle of the god, the peacock.
And this team is led by J. M. Vinita Jayaratna from the Sri Rana Mayura Arts Academy of Dambugolla. It's really nice to see how these dancers balance this huge prop of peacock feathers on their backs and create these dance forms, enchanting and gluing the people who are lining the streets to the procession.
Exactly, Chamoda. I think this is one of the most attractive and one of the most awaited segments in the entire procession, because the kids as well as adults, they really like to enjoy, to see, to witness this dance.
When the beats become upbeat, one might wonder why it is. It is because the drums which are played in these dances are called Tawil Dere or the Tawil drum, which adds a hint of South Indian influence into the Kataragama Devaya procession.
And now we have the Shitaska Sudumanike joining the Kataragama Devaya procession. And this is also one of the significant and vibrant dancing performances which we can see only in the Kataragama Devaya procession.
Indeed, led by Indika Prasad Kularatna, we can see another energetic form of dance.
To be honest, it doesn't have any significant movements or rhythms, but the dancers in their freestyle are performing, paying homage to God Kataragama through their performance.
Indeed, this dance is not choreographed in any form. They dance and they innovate moves to their whims and fancies to make this procession more colorful.
It is in fact interesting to see how the Kataragama Esala Perahera from the down south is also happening parallel to the Dalada Perahera today.
Exactly, it reflects a mixture of the down south culture as well as the Indian culture, to be specific, mostly the Indian culture, the South Indian culture. And we can see how these dancers have adorned their equipment, instrument with peacock feathers. And now we have another elephant, and this elephant is namely Ratna, who belongs to Mr. Chanaka, who is under the custody of Mr. Chanaka Jayasekara and who belongs to Bengamue Sri Dhammadinna Nayaka Thero.
Following Ratna, we see the first West troop of the Sri Maha Kataragama Devalaya led by Dhananja Talgagoda from the Ratna Arts Academy. The task of this troop of West dancers is to escort the godly ornaments of God Kataragama. We can see they are singing chants and dancing, creating varied patterns to enchant and entertain the people who are lining the streets.
And now we have seen the main Tusker group of the Kataragama Esala Perahera segment. The godly ornaments of God Kataragama are traditionally born in the run hilige of the ceremonial Tusker, and today the ceremonial Tusker for Kataragama Esala procession is Aruna, who belongs to Handala Rajamahavihare, and Aruna is accompanied by Sankaraja and Esala. Right in front of the Tusker, the elephant group, the Tusker group, we see the chief trustee of the Kataragama Esala.
In fact, he is known as the Iyer, and we can see that South Indian touch in his costume.
And the second dancing troupe, his West dancers, are there in the Katharagama Devali procession. Up next to welcome the Basnayaka Nilame. But as we told you, in today's Perahera, the Basnayaka Nilame will not be taking part. Instead, the Basnayaka Nilames of the Pittisara Devales will be taking his place.
Indeed, and this troupe of West dancers who are escorting this representation of the Basnayaka Nilame of the Katharagama Devalaya is trained by Upananda Talgagoda of the Ratna Arts Academy.
The Kandy Dancers' costume is pretty much significant because it is a costume which is protected by trials and taboos, and it is acquired gradually as dancers master the discipline and the art.
Indeed, Sachini, would you mind telling us how many accessories consist this dancing costume?
Yes, Chamoda, I think there are 64 accessories. It's good that you ask because the people watching the Perahera, they should learn about the history of this procession as well as the facts surrounding this procession. So there are 64 accessories, ornaments in their final attire. So this second troupe of West dancers, led by Upananda Talgagoda, is welcoming the Basnayaka Nilames of the Pittisara Devales or the rural Devales who are taking the place of the Basnayaka Nilame of Katharagama Devale in today's Perahera.
We can see the due respect is given to the representation of the Basnayaka Nilame with the umbrellas held high above their heads and the guards lining them on either side.
With that, the procession of the Katharagama Devale ends and we are about to witness the commencement of the procession of Sri Mahapattini Devale.
We see how the rituals are being performed inside the Devalaya by the chief trustee and another special character called the Alatti Amma in veneration of the godly ornaments of Goddess Pattini. And we can see the godly ornaments of Goddess Pattini constitutes of a very small statue of the Goddess Pattini. And up first, in the Pattini Devalaya Perahera, we see again a troupe of Buddhist flag bearers. These flag bearers remind us again and again that this is a celebration, veneration and devotion done in the name of Lord Buddha.
Goddess Pattini is a deity who commands great respect among most of the citizenry of the country, and the only female representation in the Dalada procession is the Pattini Devala procession. Therefore, in this segment of the procession alone, we'll be able to see female dancers performing.
Indeed, Sachini. In fact, in addition to the representation of female dancers in this procession, in terms of deities and gods, also Goddess Pattini is the only female representation.
Yes, Chamoda, folklore stated that the goddess Pattini was a great model who preserved her chastity, and due to this great and noble quality, she could obtain the highest veneration of human beings. And let's tell a bit about the colors associated with the goddess.
Indeed, throughout the procession of the Devalayas, we have seen colors signifying each god. For Goddess Pattini, the color associated is believed to be the Shweta Varna, and it is believed to consist of a mix of white and yellow. And today at this Pattini Devalaya procession, we will be seeing the representation of white and yellow throughout.
So now we have the Hevisi beaters in the Pattini Devalaya procession.
And this is the official Hevisi troop of the Pattini Devalaya. Used in this Devalaya is different to the beads which are used in the other Devalayas. In fact, the beads used in the Hevisi drum by the Hevisi drum beaters of each Devalaya signifies the beads used in the Devalaya or the daily, weekly, monthly and annual services done in veneration to the respective gods.
The first elephant with the Gajanayaka of Pattini Devalaya, and this elephant is the elephant Isuru, who belongs to Mahiyangana Rajamahavihara. So the Gajanayaka Nilame is carrying the anchors, which is the emblem of his office, which is the symbol of his office.
Following the Gajanayaka Nilame, we see a mixed folk dance led by Takshila Sirivardhana from the Takshila Arts Academy. This dance signifies the basis of agricultural society which was prevalent in Sri Lanka and is still prevalent.
And it is for the very first time that we see both young ladies and gentlemen performing in harmony in the procession.
Indeed, in fact, this is the first dance where we see the female dancers coming into play. the representation of both females and males in this dance again reminds us how they perform these agricultural activities in perfect harmony to provide for their families.
And this elephant has a special name. He is namely Sudu Mahathya. And he has a Buddhist flag on his mount. And next, we have a group of female castanet dancers.
And they are led by Takshila Sirivardhana from the Takshila Arts Academy.
The castanets, like we mentioned earlier too, help a lot to maintain the rhythm of the entire procession. And up next we have another elephant, and this elephant is the elephant Devsumana, who belongs to Kolonnave Sri Sumangala Nayaka Pero.
Following Devsumana, we have a troupe of splinter dancers. They are trained by Nishantha Sanjeeva of the Navaranga Arts Academy.
You may see how these dancers use both hands and the splinters to perform in this segment.
This dance is also very synonymous to the wooden stick dance, where we can hear the high-pitched tone created by the splinters, or known in Sinhala as paturu.
The next elephant, this elephant is namely Sanju, who is from Matugama, and he belongs to Mr. Jagat Vitanage.
Following Sanju, we see a female troupe of Savarang dancers. They also signify the veneration given to the godly ornaments of Goddess Pattini by means of fanning.
Belief in Goddess Pattini with faith brought blessings on small children and women. She is supposed to be a goddess of noblest qualities, and those who believed in her were cured of hidden diseases, skin diseases, etc. That's the belief. Provided they led a religious life. So as long as these people live a religious life, if they come across any diseases, if they suffer any diseases, the goddess Pattini is said to have helped them in order to get cured. It's truly beautiful to see how all these belief systems have been incorporated into our culture, to our religion, and finally into a position like this. Isn't it so, Chama?
Indeed, the mere fact that this cultural extravaganza has been continuing for over 1700 years stands witness for that fact.
And this is a she tusker, namely Sita, who belongs to Mr. S.N. Roshan Samarakodi.
Following Sita, we see a female troupe of Panther dancers trained by Vindhya Kulasiri of the Jayasani Upcountry Arts Academy of Golkadeniya. In fact, seeing this Panther dance in the Kandy Esala Perahera is very unique because it is believed that this Panther, just like it is believed that it signifies the Chakrayuda of God Vishnu, it is believed that it signifies the anklet of Goddess Pattini.
And this is the she tusker Chuti Manike, who belongs to Mr. Bharata Amaratunga, attorney at law.
Following Chuti Manike, we are seeing pictures of the first Nayandi troupe of female dancers coming up in the third Randoli Procession. These ladies take the streets of the Kandy city, paying no heed to their gentle souls, and it's a wonderful sight to see.
And this is the she tusker Manike, who belongs to Mrs. Shriyani Gunavardhana of Varakapula. So all these elephants, the tuskers, elephants, like we said earlier too, are wearing the color yellow, symbolizing the color associated with Goddess Pattini. And now we have the first troupe of West dancers in the Pattini Devada procession, welcoming the main tusker group.
And this troupe is led by Mithun Bandara from the Mithun Bandara Arts Academy of Vatakulu.
and the main Tusker group in the Pattini Devala procession. The ceremonial Tusker who is carrying the godly ornaments of Goddess Pattini, this noble goddess, is none other than the elephant Mangala, who belongs to Mr. Daragalapatti, and Mangala is accompanied by the she-Tusker Manike, who belongs to Mr. H.R.S. Unishankar, and the elephant Banda, who belongs to Mr. Kitsiri Kadapiti.
This is the most awaited moment of the Pattini Esala Perahera. Let us all put our hands together in worship to the godly ornaments of Goddess Pattini.
We see the chief trustee of the Pattini Devale taking the streets. A small portrait of Goddess Pattini is carried in the Ranhilige on the top of the Tusker. The Dali elephants, or the elephants on either side, provide protection. And now we see the second troop of West dancers. And these West dancers are led by Mr. Chandana K. Jairam.
This West dancers hints us of one of the final segments of the third Randoli Procession today, and that is the impending approach of the Basnayaka Nilame, or the representation of the Basnayaka Nilame of the Pattini Devala.
This is the final troop of West dancers, Canadian West dancers, that we see in today's Perahera. Whirling and spinning, they arrive with their amazing silver headdresses. It's a truly beautiful sight to witness.
Indeed, I think there's nothing more explanatory of the Sri Lankan culture and heritage to someone foreign than this fully adorned Kandian dancer. In today's procession, representing the lay overseer of the Pattini Devale in Kandy, we have a Basnayaka Nilame of a Pitisara Devale, or a rural shrine, taking the streets. And he is A.W.S. Bandaranaika from the Ambekka Sri Katragama Devala.
And that marks the end of the Pattini Devala procession.
Signifying that this is a Randoli Perahera, we see up first the Randoliya of Srinatha Devalaya, followed by the Randoliya of Sri Vishnu Devalaya. Next in line is the Sri Kataragama Devalaya Randoliya, and final in line is the Randoliya of the Sri Pattini Mahadevalaya.
What you just saw was the conclusion of the third Randoli procession of the Kandy Esala Procession 2022.
Let there be timely rains that will bring living water to our fields and ensure a bountiful harvest.
May our country prosper. Dalada Samida Behedai.